Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining today's webinar. I'm Nirmala Balakrishnan, part of the research team at NASCOM. We have two very interesting sessions lined up today. Coming first is Ashish Gupta, NASCOM's lead analyst on startups and products, who will give a brief presentation with respect to the key findings from our recently released report on incubators and accelerators. Over to you, Ashish.
Thanks a lot. So first of all, thanks to all the panelists and attendees for being part of this webinar. Now, incubator and accelerator has played a substantial role in the startup ecosystem, and in impact is clearly visible. With 520 incubator and accelerators, India has emerged as the third largest number of active programs in the world. Now, this all has happened due to the active policy support. 43% of the programs have been set up in just last 5 years to support the needs of Indian startups. Government of India startup policy acted as a trigger for building incubation and acceleration capabilities. This led to the fresh impetus from central and state government agencies, industry and associations. I think, okay. Yeah, so growth was augmented by increase in corporate accelerator incubators set up as a part of open innovation initiative. If we talk about the location aspect of the incubator and accelerators, we have some key insights on that. 63% of the programs are outside 63% of the programs are active outside tier 1 cities, and there is at least one incubator or accelerator program in 100 plus cities. Growth in programs outside established startup hubs is primarily due to incubators set up by academia, industry associations, and government agencies. A major contributor is startup policies and initiatives launched by various governments. With the current corporate programs are soon expected to overtake private programs. Now, these incubator and accelerators have the capability to enable. So more than 6,200 plus startups each year based on the installed capacity of incubator and accelerators, which is expected to increase significantly by 2025. And this increase in capacity is primarily on account of continued government policy support and sustained increase in the number of entrepreneurial activities in the country. Next slide. Yeah. So as you can clearly see, incubator is a preferred choice for academic and public programs, while corporates and private investors have a bias for accelerators. Corporates and investors have a clear preference for startups with at least problem solution fit. This is primarily on account of sustenance model that require programs to generate positive returns in short period that academia or other sponsors. This is also reflective of market needs for providing structured support for startups to achieve product market fit. As you can see in the chart, invariably incubators are sector agnostic while accelerators are sector or theme specific. Though incubator and accelerators are open to accept all ideas and open to work in all kinds of areas, but we can see that based on analysis that incubators cover many sectors and open for all, but accelerators take specific approach and they focus on a particular vertical. Similarly, if you talk about the value proposition, while public and academic programs are more focused on idea and prototype stage, private and corporate programs are more suited for startups needing market access and funding. Due to the time constraint, I will not get into individual programs offered by incubator and accelerators and their strengths. I will straight away move to the recommendations. Now, to build world-class programs, we must proactively solve challenges. The key is to place emphasis on capability building over capacity building. To build a strong ecosystem, we need to focus on outcomes which require change through proactive action across multiple dimensions. So NASCOM recommends following effort across 3 dimensions. Number 1, strengthening the core. So by strengthening the core, we means like creating a single digital platform for all incubator and accelerators. I think on the next slide, yeah. Creating a single digital window clearance for all government supported programs. Also, we need increasing cross collaboration, cross-border collaboration with internal research labs for incubators and accelerators. So these all things come under the process of strengthening the core. The next recommendation is increasing private participation through building playbooks for corporates to deploy CSR corpus effectively and efficiently. Enable corporates to build, launch, and operate customized startups collaboration programs. Prioritize thematic incubators at public research labs and universities in sectors critical for national growth. The third and the most important, innovative incentives. Now we have to incentivize the whole process for innovation to come through. Now, how can we incentivize all this process? By instituting a national ranking project for incubator and accelerators, by augmenting national ranking projects with cash in grant for best performing programs. And the last, national innovation fellowship to attract high quality and experienced founders to engage with programs. So these all are the recommendations that NASSCOM is trying to put in so that we can have a good ecosystem in place where all startups can groom themselves. So these are some of the key findings of the report. If you want to see the report, download it from the NASSCOM community. You can log in and download the report. So that's it from my side, Nimla. So what do you again?
Thank you, Ashish. Coming up next is a very interesting panel discussion. The panel discussion, Incubators and Accelerators Stimulating the Indian Startup Ecosystem, has 4 eminent speakers. The session will be moderated by Kritika. Kritika is a director of 10,000 startups at NASSCOM, and I will hand it over to her. She has vast experience of actually going through the operations of the NASSCOM Startup Warehouse across the country and leads the program nationally to help build and grow startups. She has also worked closely with various state governments to build the ecosystem for tech entrepreneurs. Kritika will introduce the panelists and moderate the discussion. Thank you, Kritika, for taking time to moderate this session. I'll hand it over to you for taking over.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashish, and thank you, Nirmala. Firstly, it's my privilege to, be moderating this panel. Extreme, set of very passionate individuals here with an immense amount of experience, and we have a lot to learn from them in today's conversation. It gives me, there is absolutely no doubt the role of incubators and accelerators in growing the whole ecosystem and driving startups, and getting them to the next level. I think the accelerators and incubators have played an incredible role in that. And who better than this panel to throw more light on this in these difficult, COVID times, post-COVID times? What are some of the challenges? Let me begin with introducing Dr. Mohit Gambhir, the Innovation Director, MHRD Innovation Cell, Government of India. MIC is committed to systematically foster innovation culture in all higher education institutions. The primary mandate of Innovation Cell is to encourage, inspire, and years fostered through network of innovation clubs in HEIs. Dr. Gambhir has also taken charge of Government of India's flagship program, Smart India Hackathon 2019, as a joint member executive or joint member secretary of the executive committee. Dr. Mohit, welcome to the panel, and we're privileged to have you with us. I'd like to introduce Poyani Bhatt, the Chief Executive Officer at Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, SINE IIT Bombay. She's a qualified legal and compliance professional, fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, turned to technology business incubation by chance, helping entrepreneurs for over a decade, and experience of 3 decades in industry and academia. Is a member of several Indian government committees on innovation, entrepreneurship, incubation, and also a member on the boards of several incubators in India. Very, very happy to have you here, Poyani. Welcome to the panel. Then we have Shruti, who's the head of Cisco Launchpad Startup Accelerator. Shruti has been with Cisco for over 11 years, has played different roles, has a great passion for innovation, technology, and is an active leader who looks at mentoring a lot of other women in the organization, and is a great technology expert as well. So Shruti, welcome. And then, of course, we have Shankar Kumar, advisor at GIZ, has a lot of over 18 years of multi-sectoral experience in corporate responsibility, sustainability, public affairs, rehabilitation, and social development, has experience of working with national and international not-for-profit organizations, has a diverse and extensive exposure and understanding of national and international trends and models of CSR and sustainability being practiced. Currently working with GIZ, India's private sector development team, and working with SMEs, industry associations, government, and academic institutions on promoting innovation and sustainability in small businesses. So that's a very, very esteemed panel. Welcome to all of you. And let me launch into my first question here. Very keen to understand from each of you, what is the impact of, there's no doubt about the role that accelerators and incubators have played. But really in these current times, what is the impact you see on accelerators and incubators? What is the long-lasting impact on the engagement model of accelerators and incubators overall? Very keen to hear from each of you on this, please. Mohit, you want to start? Ashish, you need to unmute the panelists, please.
Okay, it seems I'm audible now.
Mohit, you have, yeah.
Yeah, I believe now the host is playing with the microphones. It's muting, unmuting. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to say big hello to the panelists and all the members or the peers who are listening and who have taken time to hear us. Kritika, as per your question pointed out, see, these we are already eyeing to a new normal as far as we are looking at the incubators and the accelerators. A lot of things they have changed, and I believe even the startups what they are looking at few months ago, and with the notion that nothing is going to happen to us, and I believe now everything is going to happen to us. These two words have changed the whole philosophy of the startups incubated and who all are there at various accelerators. I do understand they see a lot of fund crunching, and even VCs and the investors, they are also coming on board with a statement that show me where the money is. That's always the question, but now it has moved to a different tangent altogether. So if I say yes, a lot of challenging things, but on the contrary, a lot of opportunities. As always, these testing times bring in, concluding like 2000 and 2008, we have the history with us. So again, I say to the startups and the companies who are into this mode, look for the opportunities and move on. Yep. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Mohit. That was very precise and very nice. Poini, your thoughts, please. Ashish, you need to, yeah.
Thank you. Hi. So thanks, Kritika. So directly coming to your question and what Dr. Mohit Gambhir said, that yeah, a lot is going to change here, like in coming days. So incubators traditionally, like what Ashish presented, 500 plus incubators and accelerators in the company. I think much of that is happening actually in physical environment mode. Right, and then we all started in physical incubator versus virtual incubation program right now. So going forward, at least for a year or two, I think lots and lots of incubation related activities, mentoring and all those things. Basically, we have to take it in virtual mode. And that is going to impact quite a bit on incubation setup, incubation activity, because I also look at incubation as a, like, you know, space where startup come together, they work together. There is a tremendous, you know, experiential learning from each other, and lots of, like, you know, camaraderie that they actually have with each other, like the learning and all those stuff. Also in physical, especially when you are a company with physical product where you require lab access, you require prototyping facility and all those things, virtual mode is not an efficient mode to go about it, right? So incubators who are into physical the setup, providing all these activities vis-a-vis company also, if there is a disconnect that is happening, then the whole like ecosystem on both the side is going to get disrupted for a while. Said that, like, you know, incubators catering to software learning, those kind of companies, or lots of mentoring can continue. In fact, it can enhance also, because you can do away with lots of resource limitation and all those things, so that can continue to go forward. I also see another opportunity here, because like I remember, like when we started, we were the only, like, few of incubators in the country that I'm talking about, early 2000. Yeah, that time, in fact, the entrepreneurship activity in the country is very much promoted by the incubators in those days and government programs. Investors came in much later in the game. So the thing is that, like, now that again we see money and everything is going to get tightened, I do see an opportunity for the incubators that lots of startups will you know, shift their focus to incubator support, because incubators still continue to have government support, as well as they have past history and track records where they can be basically, you know, depended upon to help the startups. So there is an opportunity, and opportunity is here, but I'm not too sure that opportunity when we start leveraging in physical setup mode.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Vani. That was very, very helpful. It has set the whole context. Shruti, your take, you know, having been part of the Cisco Launchpad and
Sure, I think you can see my love for patterns in my background. So the pattern that I see in the ecosystem it's incredible. The biggest call for action that has come in now, right next to healthcare and the finance sectors, I think the biggest call for action has come in for the innovators and the startups. And this is so heartwarming to see the trust in the startups and innovation from the government side. And to see them deployed in action, it gives us utter joy. I think from an incubator and accelerator perspective, it only places more responsibility and accountability for us to, you know, go further and show more value. From a Cisco Launchpad perspective, I don't think there has been too much of a change because of this pandemic situation. It has more or less been business as usual, thanks to our virtual technologies that we've been working on, Cisco WebEx and such, that we've all been used to. So apart from the physical devices access, which has taken a hit, as Poini pointed out, several of our engagements with the startups are continuing on the virtual medium. And it's also very nice to see that the startup ecosystem is all warm towards this. I just want to quote a couple of instances where we saw Hello Messenger, one of our portfolio startups, raising a Series B, another startup, Vernacular, raising a Series A, another startup, CloudNethi, getting acquired by Zscaler, yet another startup acquired, another startup. So the spree is splendid. I think the opportunity is right now and for the startups to capitalize on. And we, as an accelerator, we are all committed to our support and solidarity towards this whole ecosystem.
yeah, brilliant. Shankar, your take, with your vast, different kind of exposures that you've had, your take on this current scenario and the role.
You see, no doubt, COVID has brought the entire world to a sort of halt. In fact, IMF report, which has been released last week, says that it's even bigger than the Great Depression. And there was a study done in Germany and France where they are predicting that 40% of startups might actually close down. So scenario is definitely this. It's not very rosy. Secondly, not only startups. I work a lot with MSMEs and with Ministry of MSME. Even the established businesses, they are finding it hard to sustain. Even government officials are saying, 30%, 40%. I don't know the figure. No one is saying anything. So what I mean to say that even for established business, it's not easy. So unfortunately, for startups, they have to face more challenges. So this is the truth. This is the fact that we have on one side. Now the impact on it, certainly on the one side, as Mohitji pointed out, that it is creating new opportunities, new innovations would come up, but it might be limited to a few sectors or a few. So, but that opportunity part definitely is there. Specifically to your question on the engagement model, I tend to agree with what Poyaniji said, that now it will change engagement model because there will be a new normal. On the one hand, I see the role of incubator. Many of the incubators and startups will actually have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe they have to readjust, redefine their business model, maybe even for a shorter term and all. The tooling, the engagement would be more on a virtual mode. Some activities are very easy to do virtually or not so difficult, like mentoring, like capacity building, training. But some which even Poyaniji pointed out, jahan pe there is a interface between actual physical thing going on. I don't know how we are going to tackle up, how we are going to our incubators. Secondly, most of our incubators, this number of 600 or 700 incubators in India, we must also understand that not all of them are at the same level. They're not homogeneous. On the one hand, we are top 10%, 15% good incubators who are, well prepared, or they can adapt themselves to deal with the challenges. But on the other hand, we have a mass 300, 400 incubators who are at a very basic level, and those incubators are, some of them are not even geared to work remotely. So this is the challenge. So I personally feel on the opportunity part, definitely yes, but in terms of engagement model, more and more virtual tool, we'll have to find a way, incubators will have to find a way that how they can show more value to their startups in such a scenario, in which way. And so from physical to virtual, this is the new trend, but it will be different for different stakeholders. The impact will be very different for different stakeholders. Probably tier 2, tier 3, or immature new incubators will have more challenges. This is how I perceive from outside. Of course, it has the other impact that it will have is reduction in funding and all those ones. That is on a separate side. But engagement model will definitely be more virtual.
Yeah. Thank you, Shankar. That was, that was a very fair, take on everything that we are seeing right now. And so that really leads to my next question on, how are you seeing startups react to all of this, and how are you, have the expectations from the startups kind of changed to outlook on the whole incubators and access? Basically, have their expectations changed? Are you seeing anything like their change in expectations? Mohit, your...
Yeah.
Okay. So see, as in if we say the expectation levels and the other thing, obviously it is going to change, and there are, so I cannot divulge the details, but I have already started working on two, and it's been, I believe, fortnight. We are doing all the rounds. So all kind of, the requirements, the levels, the suggestions, the takeover, a lot of deliberations are going on at our end, and a lot of changes we have also seen. And I believe in a couple of months or maybe a month or two, when things are hopefully going to be on the back row, you may expect those things coming. and the leaders in incubation space like Queenie is here, the stuff she leads, maybe she can deliberate more on that, how things are going to be impacted. Because see, they are I always say they are the ground level insight. If you have to take, she is the one who is sitting out here. And from back end perspective, the policies and other stuff, I have already told you, we have started working extra hours we are putting them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mohit. Poini, your take? I'm like he said, like Mohit mentioned, from a very ground level, you, Shruti, all of you must be seeing it at a very, very ground level. The struggles are a lot, right? And a lot of expectations. There is so much unknown. So Poini, really keen to understand from you, what are you seeing on ground? Poini, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
So I think, like, what we see on the ground, let me tell you, it's not really very great stories are going here, except for few sectors, all of them are really severely impacted. Yeah. Expectations, yes, they are going to go very high, especially from the government, because for all these activities, when economy is down or when the situation is not good, people always look up to the government. That's one thing. Especially in startup space, the whole thing has been, if you really look at it, is that anchored and spearheaded and promoted by government. So corporates have really, come up very fast in that thing, but initial activities were pretty much, spearheaded by government. So in entrepreneurship, there are going to be lots of expectations from the government. And since we are kind of a government nominees, to put it very loosely, at a ground level, the expectation from incubators are also going to grow very high. And for us, like, we have expectations on all fronts. So it's not only from starters. We will be like, expectations from us are going to be on all fronts. So it's not only from the startups, but also government and other, like, I would say even corporates and all those things. Basically, it's going to be very high. So when it comes to startup, they will definitely look up to the incubator for their own survival, and then taking them through this, lean time, and take it for mentoring them, hand holding them, and work with them on survival basis. So that is one thing is going to happen. When it comes to government also, like, they have done so much. This is one space where government has really, from starting from very beginning, have played a very positive role. And they would also like to see at a ground level how much impact and success have been made, and especially the resources are going to grow very thin. Expectation on success of the startup, expectation on impact by the startups are going to be very high. And as an incubator, we have to play a very, very balancing role in supporting startup, taking government's work forward, as well as, ensuring that we also deliver up to the expectation of the government. Third thing is that now corporates are also very good partner and contributors in this ecosystem. What, Kritika, I'm not too sure is that there are corporates who have a very long-term vision on startup or open innovations. But there are corporates who jumped into it because everyone was doing startup and ecosystem. And whether their resources, their agenda will permit them to continue in this space or not, I'm not too sure. But for corporates, again, incubators would be a very, very interesting partners to reach out the right set of the startups. And then you combine academia, government, corporate, everything coming together. I think startup can benefit the most. So this is how I will put, 360 degrees of expectation, right, from all of us in the ecosystem.
Right. No, Pani, that's a very interesting point you made on the corporates as well. Right. We run a program under the 10,000 Startups program, which is called the NASSCOM Industry Partnership Program. We work with close to about 30 corporates at this point of time. And I can't tell you how busy it has been for us in terms of use cases, matching of use cases, and the kind of support that we've got from the corporates that we closely work with. I mean, it's very, very for a lot, it's very overwhelming as well in terms of the support and the keenness to support the startups, right? So it's been great for as a learning experience for us. Shruti, you're in the hub of Sorry, Pani, go ahead.
No, that's what exactly I'm trying to say this, right? That corporates who have a long-term vision on this, they are going to stick around and going to help that. Only point that I was trying to make, Kritika, is that everyone is impacted. So see, startups is agile. They can bounce back in a short time if there is an appropriate setup, support system is geared up towards that. Corporates have to play their house in order first and also cater to it. So for them, challenges are far more than like what we see for startup or ourselves.
Sure. Absolutely, point taken. Yeah, very well said. Shruti, you're so much in the hub of all this, right? What are your startups and what is your take?
I think Pani really nailed it on the head. If we are able to showcase value and what it means for corporates in the long run, I even want to attribute to some findings in the NASSCOM report to say, hey, what are the top focus areas for the corporates from engagement with the startups, right? And things like joint go-to-market, co-integration with the startups. I think if these are some far-fetched visions for the corporates, and like Cisco, we are truly deriving a lot of value because of engaging with these startups. And if there is good amount of value engineering in place, it's all for a gain. I should definitely say that I am an eternal optimist, so I will sound that way to most of this discussion today. But I believe, like as a student, once you're inside a school or a college, right, it doesn't matter, the education is not going to change because there is a pandemic or there isn't a pandemic, right? You still have to continue the learning journey. And that's how it is when a startup is part of an incubator or an accelerator. What matters is what kind of support is additionally provided to these startups during this time. I think that matters the most and will stand them in good stead. So I think building a strong foundation is very key. That's number one. And if we see that, there are new terminologies coming up, a bit TAC and all that, which is, COVID resistant KPIs that are coming up. Hey, are you COVID resistant so I can fund in you, right? So that kind of beating the curve attitude, you have it in you. I think that's very important to cultivate in for the startups. And that's what we from Cisco Launchpad like Accelerator try to cultivate in the startup. Hey, are you guys focusing on digital transformation? It has been a buzzword for a very long time, but it's time we put it into place. And with all of these ecosystem players coming in, NASSCOM, the government, the academia, I think it's important to connect the dots. Unless we appropriately connect the dots, we are only going to continue to function in silos. And it's always true that a pandemic or an epidemic typically brings in people. A calamity always brings in more collaboration than ever. And I think we need to capitalize on this situation so that we are able to connect the right dots and make sure that we provide the right kind of pathway to these startups together. Did that answer your question, Kritika?
Thirty seconds. So, but I don't want to break the flow in the conversation. So, Shankar, your thoughts on this, and what are you hearing and seeing from a whole?
I do not have any first-hand example as my other colleagues who are actually working with startups, but working with policymakers and with some of the incubators, I feel expectation management is going to be a key challenge for many of these startups and many of these incubators. As many of the startups will have to go back to their drawing board, many of them will have to, develop new 6 months, 1 year, 18 months program. So in such a scenario, on the one hand, incubators will have to render that kind of support, but more than that, there would be increased expectations from startup for linkages with right kind of stakeholders, with technology providers, with funders. So this is increased. Even we are getting a lot of calls from many of these ecosystem players. Indo-German Startup Exchange Program, they are getting, through them we are getting. So we can get a sense of it that there is a increased expectations for more linkages with different stakeholder pair. That is number one. Secondly, you are very right that there is a lot of expectation from government, because ultimately in such scenario, however how we criticize government, ultimately they are the one who actually come up. But then the question remains, is government actually what is able to do it, and in which way and what? So incubator would have to, I don't know how much role they can play, but startups would expect this role from incubators to, at least from basic awareness to what kind of program government has for them, to slight more support. This is true. And thirdly, I still believe that startups will have to, the incubators will have to add more value by, even they have to innovate and see what's the best practices going on, collaborating not only within India, not only remaining within their zone, but also cross border and all, and then see some of the best practices can be done. But these are what I'm seeing from outside. These are not the first person's view, but this is what is my opinion on the same.
So, Shankar, that kind of leads me to, my next thing. Can you throw also a little more light on, on the whole policies and some policy changes that we should really be, looking at? I'm not just saying in times like this, but yeah, in times like this, they get very highlighted. But overall, some thoughts from you on some policy changes that are, needed very badly for the ecosystem.
Yes, actually, we see those of us who are in this sector, we see that intention of government is not bad. At least they say they try to do things, particularly related to this incubation startups space. They want to do a lot of things, but the biggest problem that they have is that even at the central level, they operate in silos. Ministry of BST, Ministry of MSME, Atal Incubation Mission, there's no connect, nothing in between them. So this is the biggest for a startup. I see many incubators, they have all these different tags supported by 1, 2, 3, 4. So this somehow, I think there should be more coordination at the central level for this. All these different ministries should not be operating at silos. So this is the one thing which I see. Secondly, mindset needs to change of many of this government departments and ministries also. Focus should not be on numbers. Ki 500 incubator bana diya, or by 2025 we'll have 2,000 incubators. It should be more on outcome based, and this mindset change needs to come. We are working a lot with Indian ministries. We have taken them to German ecosystem to make them understand how it works there. Yes, situations are different between both the countries, but this number wala jo humko thoda obsession hai, we should try to get over it. Thirdly, I think that even government should leverage more of technology. They are working with startups, they are working with young people, young minds, but the processes that they follow, from accessing simple government scheme or incubation scheme for seed money. For example, Ministry of MSME, the scheme is very good. You get for ideas, you get for prototype, you get for up to 1 crore you can get. But the entire process is such that no one would actually, very few of them would be successfully able to avail it. So government have mechanisms in place to leverage this. Secondly, other aspects which should be separate from this, where other ministries needs to be involved, like Ministry of Corporate Affairs and all, is corporates are key for success of incubation and startup ecosystem. This we have seen in Germany and in Europe. So here, while there is this 2% CSR thing is there, but I think it needs to be properly channelized. Can they have a corpus or something? Can they have something? So how to channelize this CSR thing? This needs I know it's not going to be a month-long thing. It might take some time to actually come up, but government should look into it because that's a big bulk of money. And finally, I feel that recognitions, awards, documentations some people in Germany, my German friends were saying that European Union had this benchmarking of incubators. I don't know how successful that will be in India, but maybe towards that line, so that there is a basic governance. So I feel in brief, government should actually start, if they are working with the startups and young minds, leave a little bit of their traditional conventional way of working, and then move towards and more networking, more leveraging, not in silos. So these are some of the things, some of the suggestions, and some of it we are actually working also on part of GIZ and our in mission. So let's see if we are able to integrate at least 10% of what I said here. So that's my view on the policy in Indian ecosystem.
Sure.
So,
Thanks,
Kritika, can I
Yes,
add to this policy, because what Shankar has actually mentioned, there are a couple of things that I would like to add here,
Sure.
or maybe give some kind of clarification here. So Shankar, you are absolutely right that when you say that there is not much interdepartmental coordination is taking place. The fact is that or rather, I'm not giving any clarification on that, but see, each ministry is supposed to be doing and implementing its startup program. So and then there are certain ministry who took the lead much ahead of the time, right? So now those ministry, their processes and all those things, like when you deal with public money, there is going to be bureaucratic process that I've learned in last 15 years. Yeah, decision making is not fast, and there is lots of accountability that basically attached with that. So there is going to be a bureaucratic process. Said that, some of the ministries' internal processes are very well structured. Yeah, the other ministries who have started in relatively much later, they are trying to figure out that how to go about it. So that's one thing. But right now, in context with this COVID, I see the kind of coordination that is happening, because I am also peripherally part of several activity, and we are also implementing DST's Kavach program. And I get involved in lots of interaction. The kind of coordination between the ministry right now, it is phenomenal. The way is happening is that there is a central pool of startup database has been created. Each ministry has been given, based on their vertical specific approach, they have been given tasks to assess those startup, and collectively they again take an overall view, and then they decide whom to support, from where to support, and all those things. The kind of coordination that is being done from central thing, I will not name 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, because every government ministry is right now involved, and amazing coordination. And I think that learning all ministry will keep with them, and they will continue doing that in future. So this is one thing that I wanted to share here. Coming to benchmarking, I think benchmarking also, we are late here, but benchmarking also is happening in India. We have one incubator association out there. ISBA is doing, several departments have started doing it. So benchmarking has happened. One last question, sorry Kritika, I'm holding you here, but one last thing is that point in benchmarking I want to add here is that interestingly, in India, we have a very different kind of incubators. So each of us basically follow our own template. When I say each of us, those who are already mature and at a ground level who are delivering, right? Then we follow very different template for each of us. So coming with very standardized benchmarking is very difficult in our case. And good part about India is that, like, we are learning from our own experience in incubators. I'm talking about, we are not doing copy-pasting approach here. So what NASSCOM's success metrics or governance practice would be significantly different than what we are doing here. So that is another, but still we have arrived at certain minimum base here. So I just wanted to share with you.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that, Payani. Mohit, I really want to change gears with you a little more and, stay a little more, I completely agree with Payani, right? When in terms of the government really stepping up and putting these task forces together and building those in a very systematic manner. All of us are part of different task forces like these, and it's very encouraging to see some of that. But with you, I really want to, staying a little true to the topic of this conversation, and I really wanted your take on you've been working very systematically on fostering innovation culture, right, in higher education institutions. What's your take on, the success of these innovation cells at academic institutions, and how do you think they're, progressing and building impact, right? I'm really interested to know your view on this.
Thanks, Kritika. And thanks for bringing that up, actually. We started, I believe, in August 18, and with a proposal that, yes, we should have something to supplement what our students are getting in higher education space at a rapid manner. And why I will just brief. Because, see, we have a set curriculum, we have a set theory practices, we have examinations and other stuff. But considering what is required, what is going around in the market, it needs rapid movement, a mission mode kind of an operation. So we started establishing these innovation cells, and as of today, we have 1,600 of them, roughly 1,600 plus across the country. And just to add the requirement criteria of setting these up, number one, whether an institution, they have their own incubation center, or are they tied up with any other incubation center. Okay, so the situation is, we wanted to bring the number up very rapidly. It happened. Now, on the contrary, what we supplemented them with: design thinking, cognitive skills, entrepreneurship development, tech transfers, IPR. These innovation cells which we have created, they are looking after all these aspects. And much before we entered into this pandemic situation, the council members, which are primarily 4, 5, 6 faculty members of that institution, and around 18 to 20, that is the charter we follow, along with a banker, an investment manager, and other things, we have the council. So we created a kind of environment whereby these all innovation cells, they are coming and working in sync. They are not aloof, they are not working in silos. Everybody is aware of who is working when, what, how, where, because we have a central pool, and from there only we govern all the activities. So for the first year, which we devised as, we actually channelized, we actually dictated terms that, yes, on these particular, this fortnight, you're supposed to do this kind of an activity, this fortnight, and then we started delivering from our end. Like we do have one leadership talk, which my colleague Abhay does. So he brings in a lot of motivator. So at first hand, these may sound like that, okay, anybody can go to YouTube, anybody can go online, and they can look into, but it was not happening. So from our innovation cell, and the situation is the data, the very first talk, after this, during this pandemic situation we did, can you just imagine, we had a near view rate of 2 lakh viewers simultaneously at a one go. In our higher education space, the faculty members, the students, they were looking at, just imagine 2 years before or 1.5 years before, it was so hard to bring them in this particular space. And even we are facing challenges at present as well, that a lot of faculty members, they say we are not that much tech savvy. But if we look at our data, we say, okay, we are successful at least in bringing them by the number up by 5 lakh of them. So that's the traction or the change that happened. Another innovation cell, like fostering innovation, as you pointed out, what we have done is we are encouraging these innovation cell to mark up and bring the innovation which is happening at the institute level to a central database. And now we are into the form of launching very soon our central technology database, which is immensely categorized, that which kind of category, this technology category, this particular startup or the innovation idea it falls into. And if we look into like agriculture space, you can just click and drag and let's look up to. It's pretty similar. Our peers and colleagues like in Agni and other Startup India or Investment India, they're doing that. So we are trying to again form, like I'll add, which Poini mentioned. So we are trying to again complement, we're trying to add, we are not reinventing any wheel out there. So we have taken the format from Agni, we have added one or the two or more fields. Now we are going to connect with Invest India and going to ask them that, see, here are our HEI startups or in innovation ideas. Can we do something and take them to the next level for investments? So we are not in a way, so we are acting as a catalyst, as a channel to bridge the gap along. And that's how, and another avenue which we started, Indo-Canada startup exchange, then India, Korea, we have a startup exchange. Canada specifically, we take women entrepreneurs, and these are all from these HEIs. So things, they started rolling up, and I believe pretty soon you will see much more happening. Another like ranking of incubation centers, that the topic was brought in. So I would like to say here and mention, it's not about incubation centers only. We have started ranking institutions on their innovation achievements. So that is by the name of ARIA, and very soon second edition and the rankings would be announced, I believe, in a week's time. So we are ranking institutions, HEIs, on the basis inputs, what they're getting as in the fundings, process, what they are doing it, and outcome, whether at least they're able to bring some products or at least some commercialization aspects. I'm sure it will take time, but another 2, 3, 4 years, you may see some meaningful commercializations as well coming out of the institutional setups. That is how what we are doing right now, and a lot of supplemented by hackathons and activities and whatnot. So hackathons, I believe, has become a buzzword in every nook and corner in the country now.
No, this is great to understand more in detail everything that you've been doing and the contribution to this whole ecosystem. Shruti, with that, I move on a question to you.
Just to add a point before you move to Shruti, another important aspect what we did, created 6,000 innovation ambassadors. So we have done 4,000 of them, 2,000 are pending. And so what we are trying, that they go to the next level and train their peers and colleagues and lift the level of their neighboring institutions and peers. So that's how we're trying to create a robust ecosystem as well. Yeah, thanks Shruti for allowing me to take 1 minute of yours. Thank you.
No, this is really interesting, and it's such diverse views here and such diverse experience, and just so much more heartening when you hear all this, all the hard work and effort that goes in. Shruti, with that, really keen to understand, we've been part of this program for over 3 years, 4 years, some really good success stories from your accelerator, very keen to understand, and we've been getting flooded with questions. So in the next 8-10 minutes, we'll move to taking questions. But before that, can you just take us through, your quick journey of how the accelerator at Cisco has evolved over the years, and some 1 or 2 key lessons that you would want to share with all of us on this webinar in terms of some key challenges and, some key lessons in evolving the program overall, not just in COVID times, but overall.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Mohit, Poini, and all of these players who have been contributing to this ecosystem, because when we were actually looking at candidates, we saw that the students who had a good presence participating in these innovation cells, they were much more hireable. So from a corporate hiring perspective, they were much more ready for the industry. So first of all, thanks on that and spreading the entrepreneur mindset. I would like to resonate and echo what Poini mentioned, right? So it's all not about, metrics are very, very important. We are very strongly measured by KPIs day in and day out. So no doubt about that. And as accelerators, I think we are doing our every bit to act as a guru or a scrum master or mentor or advisor, whatever the terminology be. I think we are doing our every single bit to do that. And I think I would also thank the government for starting off this huge Digital India Innovation Initiative in 2016. That created a wave of Me Too response, and it created a wave of a lot of other incubators and accelerators sprouting up across the country, right? But I think over a period of time, the ecosystem has transitioned drastically. So just think of it, the e-commerce transition from just a book buying industry to completely disrupting the retail and real estate industry. Now I see the same stuff happening for the incubators and the accelerator ecosystem. So I see it evolving from a cost center to a value center, because we are adding value for the startups, we are enriching the mentors, there is two-way exchange of ideas and outcomes. lot of investors pitching in. The ecosystem at large is greatly starting to derive benefit out of this. But I have a very strong call for action here. Just think of the automotive industry here. You don't measure the KPIs by the amount of steel you put it into the factories. You not even measure the KPIs by the amount of cars that are coming out of the factory. What KPI you measure is how many users bought it and how they use it. I think that's very, very key. In fact, my biggest fear is, hey, we are creating all of this huge wave of the next gen with a lot of entrepreneurial mindset, but with no proper ecosystem to absorb all of this talent. It's like all static energy connecting potential energy becoming kinetic energy. But unless you have a way to channelize this kinetic energy, it's all going to go into brain drain wave 2. Right? So I think more than any grants or other KPIs, what is most important as the biggest call for action is, hey, instead of giving a grant of 20 lakhs, give them an opportunity to deploy this solution, identify a hospital or a university or a street, and give them the opportunity to go deploy their solution. I think that's more important. It has to be very concrete. I think only if that concreteness is there in terms of what you're doing, it becomes a chicken and egg problem. The people can't establish the value unless people see it in action. And only when the action is seen, the outcome is seen, the value is decipherable. We need to do as much as possible to ensure the value is visual for everybody to see out there. So here is a strong call again for giving provision for our opportunity for outcomes and giving them concrete projects to deploy in. So I could take a lot of them to Canada or Germany. I mean, with all due respect, right, I can definitely do that. It's all part of our expansion. We have to do that. But I think we also have a strong commitment to make a change to our immediate ecosystem as well. If we are still going to live in this same old ecosystem around us, not making an inch of change here, but thinking about the whole world outside there, I think it's not the right approach. We also need to understand, implement it, think of this as beta testing in our own environments, immediate ecosystems, and then go take the learnings and put it out there. Our chances for success is going to be much higher.
Sure. Thanks, Shruti. Shankar, I'm going to jump to you. If there were, if you were to quote 3 or 4 best practices that you've seen in other countries, what is it, that we could learn from? Or maybe there's something that we are doing better as well. Could you throw some light on this?
I have some experience in from the German ecosystem, and I think 2 or 3 key specific thing that they are doing and which is working well for them at least. First of all, their ecosystem is decentralized and network driven ecosystem. What I mean is, the startup centers or incubation centers are established in the local bodies. So in every city there is municipality, district administration, corporate, they are all involved. So this, be it a very small town like a Karlsruhe in Stuttgart or state of Baden-Württemberg. So when you'll go there, you'll find the entire city is popping. So one incubator is not a standalone thing, but it is well networked and different players from the municipality to admin to city policy to corporates to academia, everything is involved in this. So this is one thing which is definitely, which is very distinct in Germany. Secondly, something which Shruti was also saying and which you'll find in Germany also, that incubators there are oriented towards strengthening local competitive advantages and building image of a German city and regions, every city. So that is also, it's very strong in them. But very important thing which makes them ahead of us, or in terms of funds and all, is large corporates are very much into the system from the very early stage. You go to University of Stuttgart, and it's a win-win for them because they are the closest to the innovation. They spend a lot of money. They are into it. They are, it's not merely a tick mark for them or a CSR for them. They see it as a business point of view. So corporate involvement is actually quite high, and even government. Not only this, but government has special programs where they, promote PPP in promoting business angel network. So government is actually involved in bringing them together, spending a lot of resources and money. So that is also distinct. And then I feel that the mentor network there is also quite good. We also have a lot of mentors, good mentor network, many different examples. But there, uh, uh, they try, and their entire network tries to bring in the right kind of expert from the private sector and this entire network thing. So that's working pretty well. Besides it, some of the policies that they have, from very basic spending awareness to platforms, networks, all those things are there. But I think these 4 or 5 things: decentralization, this mentor network, this corporate involvement, these are distinct things which are there in Germany.
Yeah, thanks, Shankar. Point, would you like to jump in here and talk about, you've incubated more than 100 to 150 startups, very successful exits and all of that. What from your viewpoint has been some of the requisites of building and this impactful program that and how has it evolved for you over time? Pani, I think you are on mute.
Okay, my apologies. I'll pick up the things where Shankar left. I think the practice that an incubator adopts, or the ecosystem that incubator develops around it, that is very critical for the success of the incubators. So one is that incubator, even if we are in physical form of incubation space, I think it is the network, business network, mentor network, industry network, investor network. These are the things really work for the startup, and startup need that access. So it's not only plug and play office. It's not just a co-working space when they come to the incubator. So one is physical infrastructure, that is basic necessary requirement, but focus more on a ecosystem and soft support side. I think that has perhaps worked in favor of Sign, that like we have been lucky enough that we got a very good set of mentors, or our even board members are very active, and then our alumni are very active when they associate with us. So that is one thing. Second thing is that even the kind of startup, we support. So we have certain kind of benchmarking or certain kind of process for our intake, and those startup not everyone walks in and gets supported at Sign. There is a proper review process. There are proper pointers where we emphasize on, and then these reviews are being done by external set of people who have been in the game, who knows the space very well, domain expert or investability or whatever it is. So I think one is that the kind of ecosystem or network and mentoring that incubators provide, and second, your intake process that has to be combined together for any incubator to become a successful incubator.
Thanks, Pani. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to jump into some of the questions that are coming in. Mohit, I think this is right up your alley. Any suggestions for early stage startups on how they can protect their IP when using cloud services? Mohit,
I'm doing it. Again, my apologies. I was handling multiple tasks. I'm doing multiple tasks. Maybe people can figure it out what I'm doing right now.
Right,
okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm preparing note. I have 5 with PM HRM presentation. I'm preparing notes as well.
Okay. Would you like me to repeat my question?
No. I have. It's loud and clear. So, but the thing is, for every startup, even for our first year student, I say, and that IP is something. The moment they conceive an idea, the moment they think something which is unique, which just like a child, every parent does, that their child is the best. I believe that is the policy which an inventor has to go. Though they go by that, but they don't protect their IP. Just we name markets. Within 1 month itself, we have to file for IP. I believe it is as diligent as that. We have to go for. If we don't name market, people should understand that yes, nobody is going to call them up. In a very similar manner, if a startup or a person who has an idea don't file for a patent, ultimately they'll not be getting any credit for. It doesn't matter whether it ends up in open source, it ends up wherever. It is their prerogative. So number one, whenever they have an idea, whosoever they're going to discuss, it's a clear-cut suggestion to everyone, carry a copy of NDA with you. Carry a copy of NDA with you, which I learned a very, very hard way. And during my days in Bay Area, I have to have around 200 copies even, because you end up meeting so many people. You have to have an NDA copy with you. Otherwise, literally, I'm telling you, no matter how much $1 billion worth your idea is, you exist nowhere. This is a ruthless word. And on that note as well, I also add in, have an exit agreement implemented with your co-founders or co-peers and CTO, CEO, whatsoever you say, other shareholders. Seldom people do. Whenever you are in love, it is very easy to write a divorce. When you are in pain, when you are enemies, it becomes a lot of painful. So these are two things which I always suggest, even a few of the companies which I work with. Number one, file an IP. Have an idea, file a provisional patent application, work on, sit on for another year, talk to so many people, nobody's going to steal it. Then you can work on and file number of non-provisionals later on. But it has to, it is mandatory, as mandatory as you have food. I believe people understand the granularity of it.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Mohit. That was a very interesting perspective, and I think a lot of times we miss out on this whole IP piece and just ignore that. Startups do ignore that quite a bit.
Yeah, Kritika, just to add, and just to add, in India, we do not have Notion. So our social scenario is such, we still go by that if our neighbor's kid has, has done some startup, why my kid will not end up doing that. So we need to come out of that startup. Everybody cannot become an entrepreneur. There exist entrepreneurs as well, right? The people who can work with an entrepreneurial mindset for others. So we need to just club that thing up and build a very strong economy. That's the point.
Right. This is quite an interesting question. I think I'm sure Paini, Shruti all can add value. I can answer this. There are many incubators and accelerators in India, especially in Bangalore. However, what would be your advice on how to find and choose the right one? Right. So, assuming this is a question from somebody who's been accepted in multiple incubators and accelerators, or just by assumption, but yeah.
So let me put this way, whoever asked this question, I think that person has to actually figure out what exactly he or she is looking at as a support. Yeah, try to map his or her own requirement, go to the incubator where they find that support. That is a fundamental thing. So here is the thing, like, I want to build an IoT prototype product, and I go to an incubator where I don't have any access to any lab support, directly or indirectly. Maybe that's not an appropriate incubator, even if you end up getting some small grant. So that's not it. Because except for money, you don't get anything out of it, right? If you need lab, you require that technical mentoring, you require product development support and mentoring during that time. So you need to go to a place where the incubator can support your developmental process. So the person has to figure out what exactly he or she wants vis-a-vis her or his venture. So that's one thing. Second thing is that, I again go back to the place that incubator is not physical infrastructure. Incubator is much beyond that infrastructure. Right. So whether the incubator can provide an appropriate milieu environment where you can directly, get lots of benefit, input, sharing, learning. Yeah, there are fellow entrepreneurs who have gone through certain process, they can share with you. There are graduate entrepreneurs who can come back and mentor you. So those kind of, so it's a milieu or environment that incubator create. Yeah. So if you just want to sit in an office expecting nothing, I think you go to any co-working space. And out there also there is lots of experiential sharing is happening because lots of hundreds of entrepreneurs are sitting there. But it's a more of a physical infrastructure approach or co-working space approach. Yeah. So that is second thing. That like map your requirement vis-a-vis what incubator can offer. Second thing is the milieu that they provide rather than just like getting there and sitting there or banking on few small money or whatever it is. Yeah. And very important, look at the incubator team or look at their past track record, the kind of companies that come out of those incubators. You look all those things put together, you can figure out the maturity of an incubator, and that's where you should end up going.
Sure. Anyone like to add anything to this? I mean, this is a very comprehensive answer. Anything like to add anything to this? Okay.
Yeah, I think that was pretty comprehensive.
Yes, very, yes. The other question is, what are the initiatives government is taking to drive innovation in the country? I mean, anyone can take this.
Either Mohit can take it or I can take it. His government ideally. So,
Poini, I believe maybe if you do the honors, it would be really great because see, the point is, I would just like to add why I am requesting Poini to take this up because she is at a position and a situation where number of ministries actually come together, like DST
Right.
and then DBT and other stuff. So the perspective which can have from her would be much more different on the tangent which I am going to talk about. And thanks,
Right.
Poini, in advance.
yeah, sure. So I think you're talking about government initiative. I think it is not just now, like government has been taking initiative from very beginning. Initially, they were just supporting incubator to create their infrastructure and provide lab support and all those things. From that, they have gone further down for startup support. And this support actually is from start to end. When I say start to end, like most ministries have now support starting from like converting idea or POC into prototype. Then there are monthly fellowship program. Then there is a seed funding program, and this seed funding in some of the ministry it also basically has a gradual enhancement of money and all those things. So I think that's a funding part. So government has been doing it, and some of the ministries have a very well structured laid out plan out there, which is working out. Much of what Ashish presented here in the beginning, I think government has contributed a great in that context. That's one thing. Second thing is that where it is making a very sincere effort, but results are yet to be, impact is yet to be
Right.
seen, is at a various policy level, startup, especially in I would say that the legal or regulatory framework that we have, right? It's not really yet very startup friendly. I must add that they have been doing year after year. They are taking feedback, but it's not. You can't say that like it's fully in place. Yeah, but very sincere efforts are going on out there. Third thing is that like okay, on regulatory side, I think we will still take some time to go there because even personally I'm still giving like I feel that here are the area one can always improve upon. So but as I said, that government has worked on in name of that startup under that umbrella of startup policy and with the IIT framework, they have brought in lots of startup and doing some good effort out there. Third thing where I think government can play a significant role, very
Right.
very, and Mohit, you can take these words to government on our behalf, is actually procurement. Yeah,
Right.
there is some kind of initiative out there which is called government e-market GEM, but it is not really impactful, effective
Right.
as it to be. And I want to spend 1 or 2 minutes here See, this post-COVID economic scenario is going to be really, really difficult. And unless there is a demand, like, you know, the entire economy has to be rebooted. And unless this demand comes from government, like, you know, it is going to be very difficult for startup to basically bounce back, startup or corporates to SME to bounce back very fast. And government will always be in need of the thing. So there is going to be procurement. It is not going to stop that procurement. How do they map this procurement process? You know, via startup, from startup or from SME is very important. And another thing is that government is putting so much money in startups, and it would be ridiculous that they don't procure their, you know, map their procurement through this startup. It's ridiculous, right? So I think it would be a very great, and without any additional spending, government can play a very fantastic role here on procurement.
Right. No, that's brilliantly said, Poini. I think the procurement part of it, I think, is the game changer, right? That building that whole.
+1000 on that, because that's precisely my call for action too.
Right. Shankar, anything you would like to add on this procurement piece overall? Anything that you've seen work well?
Well, I think very valid point, and we are discussing also at our end. For example, Ministry of MSME itself has a public procurement policy where it says that 20% of entire procurement should be from SMEs, and within 20% should be from women and SC/ST. But I think, and all PSUs have to comply, but not many are actually. But I think this is a very good opportunity, and I think it should be revived with the fresh zeal. One thing I would like to add, which is a bit different, but it might be useful for some of you listeners also, and maybe Shruti, because she represents a corporate. This is a funding instrument which German government has, which can be utilized in coming days, coming years. This is I'll very briefly tell, and later someone can connect me one-to-one. So this is something called as public-private partnership, where the public is the German government, Ministry of International Cooperation, and private can be any Indian private corporate. So if there is any Indian private corporate that wants to take up such an activity, it can be related to COVID, it will be fast, or any other activity, you know. For example, if Cisco thinks that for next 3 years they should have a series of 50 hackathons or different challenges or something, you know, or want to develop a new product which can be which is of use to business itself. So then if corporate spends X amount of money, the German government also gives us X amount of money for that. This is one. But the beauty is that corporate does not have to put that money in cash. So they can also show it in kind. For example, your existing cost can be accommodated too. Thirdly, there is no exchange that takes place. So you will not give money to us and we will not give money to you. How it happens is we agree upon a program that fine, in this COVID situation, maybe Cisco or any other corporate is interested. For next 3 years, they'll be doing this activity. So there will be 10 activities. So GIZ will take care of 6, and that respective will take care of 6. And this is a very good fund, which can start from as low as 300,000 euros each partner, matlab 3 crore each partner, and it can go up to millions. So I think this, if any corporate is there or through your network, if it can, in this COVID situation, around startups also or something. So this is one thing which is available. So this I just wanted to briefly give that it might be interesting. I'll be glad to support you in this.
Sure. Thanks, Shankar. I don't know where time disappears, right? When you're having such interesting conversations and there's just so much more to discuss. But I will take one last question here. Any sustainability advice for incubators in the present COVID-19 situation, as it seems getting fund disbursement from government side will be delayed?
Maybe
Poini is staring at me and I'm staring at her. Who is going to take the lead?
you can give me advice. I am seeking the same advice from you, boy. Yeah. Okay. First you and then
Okay.
I can add.
No, see the incubators or the accelerators who are matured enough. I don't foresee, though there will be some troubles, but they still can sustain. Maybe they can devise some kind of alma mater connect, which just like colleges or institutions. Maybe they can also look into those kind of perspectives. But the real challenge, which I believe is going to come for the nascent or the very fresh incubators who are just sitting on the verge of having 4, 5, 6 very initial startups. So challenge is going to come for them. So I believe maybe ISBA or other bodies for the interim process, they can just have some collateral or the things, because you rightly pointed out, Kritika, that delays will happen, and it is going to, because a lot of other priorities are there and the funds, they have been allocated and reallocated. So things would be delayed. On the contrary, so it's like join hands virtually. What we are doing, it has to go for incubators and accelerators as well. Yeah.
I think, yeah, Mohit addressed this issue pretty well. It's not that I think we are also going to, Mohit, get impacted heavily, because at the end of the day, for us, our clients are startups. If they die, like, we are also in trouble, right? So right now, the approach, and yesterday I was sharing on another forum the same thing, that make an effort to keep your startups alive. Yeah, if we sail through it, there are chances are that we bounce back faster. That's one thing. Second thing is that if you have your economic model as a rental model, then it's not going to work out. That we realized from very early days. In fact, our mentors were so good in the initial days that they uh, put a very little emphasis on rental, but much more on other value, which is getting linked to equity and other aspects. So that is the so startups who had been doing good and who are investable, you will still get some exit, hopefully, because funding is happening. It's not completely stopped. It has got impacted, but it has not completely stopped, and perhaps that will sail us through. Third thing that I think for nascent incubator, I don't know exactly what is their economic position, but I would like to believe that they are early stage and they are supported by government. So hopefully they have some cash with them, because they are also early stage and initial days. They have to basically try to hold on their cash and be very judicious in spending, so that they can see longer run, the more than 1 year, in that basically within whatever cash you have got for a year, can you pull it through for 18 months or 2 years, so that you have a good runway to sustain and survive. I think for mature incubator, we have to go more aggressive in our CSR, seeking our CSR money. Again, I don't have certainty or visibility that how much CSR pool will be available, given that other priority area will come up, like, livelihood and jobs and all those things. So corporates will be expected to deliver on those front, and they will map their CSR, reposition their CSR to other priority areas. So I don't have certainty or visibility that whatever we saw until now, whether that interest will continue or not. Yeah. But through all are going to get impacted. None of us have visibility, but we have to be somehow remain very. Bottom line is that if you have cash, please save cash, which can sail through for a year or two before normalcy begins.
Right.
I
No,
think
excellent.
it's like the COVID situation hit us like a storm, totally, unexpectedly. But at least now we can expect that the worst is coming. So now that we know the storm is approaching, it's time for us to go back to the drawing boards. And I think every incubator is also like a startup itself. It's all about staying frugal, cutting on the discretionary, focusing only on the basics and the fundamentals, focus on what is core, increase the value proposition. I think the incubators have to take on a startup mindset and function with that.
Sure. No, very well said, Shruti. just last couple of minutes and, picking on your infectious positive side of everything, Shruti, you started with by saying that you are a die-hard optimist, right? And I think all of us are, and we will sail through this. But, before we wrap up, last words from each of you on this discussion, what are some of the opportunities that you see in this current scenario and post COVID world? Just your parting thoughts from each of you on this, please.
I think the best of us really comes under pressure. If you look at the diamonds, the best in the world comes only under pressure. So pressure is good. Let's appreciate it and develop an entrepreneurial mindset. So I recollect some of my mentors, and my grandma used to often quote this, right? Heights by great men reached and kept were not by a sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night. So though night is right now on, the light is approaching us soon. So we just need to prep ourselves because we'll be reaching the end of the tunnel soon. So get set for all of it, be prepared, and get ready to fly.
Right. Very well, very well. Mohit?
Yep. So a couple of things again, the wrap-up points. See, first thing to all the, rather the citizens, always remember as an average age, we have 60 years. So practically somewhere around 3,000 to 3,500 weeks. So 4 or 5 weeks, I believe doesn't matter. It's just a phase of time, and but the time's biggest situation is it cannot halt for itself. So always remember that. It has to pass, number one. And number two, instead of, and this is something, a personal situation, I would like to maybe advise all these startups, look beyond salary cuts, right? They are your family members. You have to talk, you have to discuss, you have to deliberate. If there are other options, work on to that. And if you cannot, then talk to them that, yes, it can be shifted a bit, but everything has, we all have to sail through. So these are two things which I would like to wrap up with. And I believe every one of us have a very positive bent of mind. We will sail through this and have a lot of new opportunities coming towards our way. Thank you.
Thank you. Shankar, your thoughts, please.
I believe that with every challenge we emerge stronger. What I specifically think for the startup community and the ecosystem player is it will also give us time and opportunity to introspect, going back to our drawing board. Maybe we never know, we make certain changes that will impact very positively for us. More from our perspective as an ecosystem player, it also forces us to look at new innovative way to support. For example, what I told you, we are a bilateral, so we are looking for support. What can we do in such a scenario? So for us also to look at the challenges in a different way and to do it, a new form of support might also emerge. And of course, this challenge which is coming, which is preparing the ground, and our young minds are coming up with brilliant ideas. This certainly is a positive outcome. So I think it will definitely pass, if not now, after 2 months, 6 months, a year. But it will definitely have its impact. But I think we'll emerge out stronger and be more ready for the future.
Right.
Best wishes to everyone. Yeah.
Koini, your thoughts?
So, honestly, Kritika, I am also looking for the answer for the question that you have asked, right, as an incubator. Right. We actually are in very, very unprecedented time. Like, we haven't come across this situation in our lifetime. Even our previous generation has not come across this situation. So honestly, we don't have any straight answers out there here, because it's such a fluid situation. We don't know, like, even if there is a new normal, when this new normal will come, when the road is going to end. So there is an uncertainty going to prevail. The flip side is that like, we also have to flip, which can be looked at as a positive, or from positive viewpoint also, that we have to rebuild the economy. The whole world has to rebuild the economy, right? And I think while larger corporates start putting the things in order for themselves, like MSME and startups will play, my sense is that they will play a very, very positive role because they are agile and they can actually get into action more faster, very faster. That's my sense is. So if that works, then expectation from startups are very high. So if you look at it, like, just to give you an example here, that in case of when this was happening, we were not even making PPEs, yeah, to address COVID. And today only I read that India is second largest manufacturer of PPEs. And much of it also comes from MSME and startup space. Yeah, so they have an ability to execute very fast. That's one thing. And corporate plays amazingly an enabling role, the way, like, Suzuki and Mahindra and then Tata's have got basically partnership into, so these are the few names, but there are so many corporates have gone into partnership with all these small MSME and then giving them, basically possibility of accelerating their production and all those things. But innovation will come from startup and MSME, and from there we have to rebuild ourselves. So all I can say as a positive note is that startup space, entrepreneur, incubator, startup, MSME, or all actors in this space, we are not redundant. If we can hold ourselves for some time, I think probably we will sail through the process. But easier said than, devil is in detail. How do we execute? We do not.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. This has been a great, sorry to the attendees, we've not been able to take all the questions, but we've tried to take, summarize, gather the questions together and try to get answers from all of you. I think this has been phenomenal. Nirmala, back to you, and I can't thank the panelists enough for this wonderful discussion. This has been a great learning for me as well. So Nirmala, over to you for your closing remarks.
Thank you, Kritika and esteemed panel, for sharing your insights with us. I'm sure many entrepreneurs would have learned a lot from the insights shared by our panel. With that, we have come to the end of this session. I would like to thank all the participants for joining this webinar. A recording of this webinar will be shared with all of you soon. These will also be available on our community portal, community.nascom.in. You can stay updated regarding NASSCOM webinars by logging on to our website. We have an interesting lineup of webinars scheduled for this month. Please do participate in that. Also share your queries and suggestions at research@nascom.in. You can also reach out to our 10,000 Startup Initiative to know more about our startup programs. Thank you again. Stay safe and have a great evening. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Kritika.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.